Well, that's getting to be a signature of that whole hand thing. This is sort of a bit of a short one, probably a midweek one, as opposed to the regular Tuesday videos. It's recorded just after the last one, actually. Just so I want to give myself a little bit of time because I've got another few things going on. And it was more about some of the strange things that people outside of the industry assume, right? That I've had people come up to me. Now, when somebody will mention places I've worked in, occasionally, which I don't particularly like when I'm out having a drink or a meal or something, that's work stuff. And they'll go, oh, did you work on so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. I've had some wonderful theories. One was from a guy who shall remain nameless, who's a friend of mine. And he says, well, you should be doing all right because you'll be getting royalties off that. I'm like, that's not how it works. We don't get royalties. You say, what? I get a flat rate. That's it. You work your hours, you go home. If it's a game or a film or a TV show or whatever, it doesn't matter if it makes nothing or it's the biggest thing ever. You get paid exactly the same amount of money. So there's no bonus not in visual effects, Also, people sometimes think, especially if you're like me, where I used to have a house here in Consett, actually it was in Black Hill, and also where I was living at the time, whether it was Edinburgh, Dublin, wherever. And people assume that you are raking money in and you're rich. You try to point out that, see, the thing is, not only am I running 2 houses and 2 lots of bills, I'm also living in a capital city. That is not cheap. So if somebody's used to living in a place at my hometown here in Consett, where things are cheap as chips, you try explaining to them how much, say a loaf of bread costs, or rent costs, or a pint of beer. I remember in 2012, 2013, a pint of Guinness was about €5 in Dublin then. So, and I remember people nearly falling over with shock. And then you explain, look, that's where money goes because you're living in a capital city. Yes, it is important to try and save money where you can. Sometimes that can be difficult, especially if you have to run 2 places. In my case, it was because I had a family back here, and although I had split up with my ex, I did need somewhere to stay when I came back on the weekends to see the kids. That made things a bit more expensive, right? But I think people also think that it must be cool working in games or films. And in some ways it sort of is, but not in the way they expect. I try explaining that, for games, yeah, you might have access to this game years before it ever sees release, but it is in a perpetual state of being broken in spectacular ways. I have stories about a certain game that would make your hair curl and probably you'd be laughing at some of the amazing errors I've witnessed in my time. The same in visual effects. You might be working on a film or a TV show. Like I've just finished the last freelance gig was on a TV show for, I think it was for Amazon. Was it Amazon or Netflix? One of the bloody two. And I have no idea what that's about. Whatsoever. None. Zero. Zilch. So while I've done my bit, it's normally in isolation. Now, the exception to that was when I was, when I'm working as a 3D supervisor, like I did on Last Days on Mars and stuff. Yes, then I was aware of the full cut of the film, what the story was and everything else, because that was enabled me to do my job. But if you're just working as an artist and you go and make that thing over there, from that concept, you go, all right, and off you crack. You do it, right? You have no idea of its context. So, to me, I might enjoy doing the thing, but I have no context a lot of the time of what or why I'm doing what I'm doing, other than an asset needs made or whatever, or later or whatever. And people seem to find that, very surprising. I know some places that I've worked at, you can go through the shot list and, if it's visual effects and, you could possibly glean the storyline from it. But normally everybody's that busy. Nobody's going to sit there all day watching random clips against a green screen, with no sound. There's no point in that. So the man in the street's sort of view of what we do is rather interesting. It's the whole misnomer of computer-generated imagery, CGI. And I keep saying, no, it's not generated by a computer. It's generated by an artist. We don't just sit pressing buttons all day. Otherwise, any motherfucker could do it. And you try to explain that it's a highly skilled job, right? And there's different areas of it. When it gets really interesting, when you try to explain something like compositing to somebody who's outside of the world of 3D, and it gets really complicated, or stuff to do with like index of refraction with shaders and Fresnel and things like that. It's worth it just to get rid of somebody. If somebody's annoying you in the pub or something, just start talking about shit like that. They will fuck off dead fast. So they don't understand what goes on behind it. And it's also, as I've said in the last video, in a lot of people's interest to portray this fact. You know, I remember a certain well-known, very large visual effects company declaring they'd created a brand new way of doing hair and fur for a film. No, they hadn't. Because I know the guy that they bought the technology of. They created absolutely fuck all apart from the UI. But that was part of the sales tactic. They are not against lying and have done plenty of times in the past. You know, we all remember the Lord of the Rings films where they declared it was all facial motion capture when it was nothing of the such kind. Yeah, that's partly to sell a film. It's also because it makes the artists appear less skilled. The reason why they don't want artists to be promoted too much, a lot of times you would see the same names cropping up time and time again. And people who are fans of movies will start noticing that these three concept artists are doing most of the things. This also can explain why a lot of concepts and monsters look basically the same. It's the same guys doing it. And they will find that quite interesting. You know. But it is what it is. As I've said in the last video, I don't think it's going to change. At least not anytime soon. It's in nobody's interest apart from the artists. And to be honest, they think we don't matter. They're a bit wrong in that one, but you know, there's always somebody who'll replace you for less. That's the bottom line. You make waves, they can get rid of you and find somebody else. They know that. We know that. It's why the only time I can really speak my mind is now I'm outside the industry. Because there's nothing they can do that will shut me up. Because I'm not working in that industry anymore. I don't need to use the software. And if I did, I'd use Blender and that's free. So, you know, to be fair, nobody said that. But I know there has been a deafening silence from the industry itself. Especially in regards to the whole thing about how the software really is not good for your hands. Deafening silence. I've had a couple of people be overly defensive, and I've pointed out, look, I am not getting at you and what you do for a living, just that there's a more optimised way of doing this. If you want details, I'm sure we could all supply them. But anyway, this is just a short one to throw in, ideally midweek, because I've got a lot of things going on. I don't want to be rushing around, say on Thursday or Friday, doing a video when I might have other things to do. So, this has been Life After 3D, episode 5? I'll see you all next time. I'm Wayne Robson. Bye-bye.